The Flashy girl from Flushing, the nanny named Fran.
Oh, Mr. Sheffield.
Miss Fine.
Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Oh, Mr. Sheffield. It's a podcast about The Nanny, a hit sitcom from the 90s, starring Fran Drescher. I am Sean DePasquale, here with...
Tori Sheffield.
That's right, and we are back for Season 6, Episode 2, Fran Gets Shushed, written by Karen Lucas and directed by friend of the show, Peter Mark Jacobson.
Holla.
Hi, PMJ. This is an episode that is basically a normal story, fully grounded in like a nice reality until it isn't anymore. And that's my summary. Toria, what is the Oh, Mr. Sheffield podcast official summary of this episode?
This is the episode where Fran and Maxwell both decide to change a little in order to compromise. Basically, Mr. Sheffield's going to try to, be a little more wild, and Fran's going to try to be a little more conservative. And then there are consequences, which we will get into. My note was this, I said this to you earlier, this felt almost Seinfeldian in how it got resolved.
Yes. It did. It felt like an episode of Seinfeld. Good for Karen Lucas for really bringing the most Seinfeld that she could. I also should note this episode begins in a place where the last episode ended and began, which is very, very horny. They're still, they are, listen, they're a married couple, which means that they finally, after 5 seasons of teasing it out, they can do the sex all the time now.
And so we pick up right where we left off last week, which is, they were bolting up the stairs after they got back from the island in order to go to their bedroom together. We're now in their bedroom. They're in their night clothes. They kind of fall onto the bed together. And Fran is getting louder and louder as they start to kiss. And then Mr. Sheffield shushes her, which instantly kills the mood. And he goes, and it was kind of nice because she was just like, oh, darling, do you know how long I've waited for this moment to make love to my husband in my home, in my bed? And I was like, oh, good for Fran. But then she gets shushed and he's just like, darling, you're a little loud. Okay. And she's like, okay.
Let's talk about the shush. But also I want to point out, this episode, the first episode started right where the other one left off. This episode kind of starts where that one left off. But at some point, we're going to have to make a time jump because she's having babies this year.
Yes. I don't think it's that the theme of the season is it's 24.
I hope not. Okay.
It's basically a precursor to 24.
What a wild take for the final season. Okay, so let's talk about the shushing. This is a mansion. Mansion. They've got so much space. Is he really that worried that she's going to be too loud? Also, come on. Those kids are 40.
I had the opposite take. Because she even said, well, you liked it when I was loud on the island. And he was like, well, yeah, but that's because no one was around. His children live in that house. I don't care how old you are. You could be 67 years old and you don't want to hear your parents doing it. And as we established later, Fran's voice carries. So if my kids were in there, I would also be more inhibited in terms of noise unless the house was empty.
Okay, that's fair. Do you think there's a better way he could have done it?
Yes, I will give you that.
Do you think it could have been handled with a little more tact?
I will give you that. Yes. Instead of a shh.
I mean, he could have been like, the kids might hear,
Yeah. It would be more exciting if we are quiet. I don't know. He could have tricked her.
Just a kind reminder. But I don't know. He sounded so upset when he's like, shush.
Well, he's a very repressed formal
British-
man. And we
British
even get
man,
into how deep this goes later.
We do.
Then he's like, well, we were alone on the island. And then she's like, we're alone here, except for this yenta. And she throws open the door to reveal Niles on his knees with his ear up against the peephole. And he gets caught and he just sort of like waves his fingers like, toodaloo.
And then he crawls away on his knees. It's very funny.
It was so funny. But the thing is, this exchange, it has devolved into such a fight. Like, she is so upset and kind of just embarrassed and just angry that she's like, you know what? I'm going to go sleep at my mother's. And I do think, while that was an overreaction, it is something that I might do in the right circumstances or the wrong circumstances. So
you think you would overreact as equal? Because, like, I get it. Sometimes you got to go put space, but like this.
Well, we can also get into
the marriage just started.
I like how this basically now it's like almost like a he said, she said, because their marriage is we're like, well, what's your take on this? No, I personally can sometimes overreact, and I would probably be halfway to Queens before I started calming down. And then I might be too proud to just turn around and go home. So I could see how this could happen.
This show also serves as like the perfect portrait for why Tori and I would never work as a couple.
Would we both do that?
No, I would hate that. I would be so upset if you did that. Unless it was like a relationship ending fight, I would be like, where are you going?
What did I do recently that was just so silly?
Something terrible.
Something so, you see, it happens so often that I don't even.
All right. Well, we're great podcasting partners.
No, well, hold on. We'll cut it. But why was that? Oh, I know what it was. Kyle asked me who I was talking to because he saw it on his like ring cam in the backyard. And I was like, I was home alone and that's none of your business.
Oh my God. Really?
I was like, don't you ever ask me what I'm doing when I'm home alone, because that's my time. Well, because I felt spied on. But the reality is he checks his ring cam compulsively for cats. Whenever it says there's movement in the backyard, he's on that rim cam. It has nothing to do with me. But then I just was feeling angry I was just feeling I needed a punching bag, and that's where.
Wow.
But anyway, so then I apologized. Moments like I came down from that pretty fast, actually. But so this evolved into such a fight that Fran puts on her boots and her shoes, and she goes to Queens. And so then we cut to Fran getting to her parents' apartment. It's 2 a.m. Sylvia is up eating lamb chops. And it's because she's like, why are you eating? And she's like, well, I can't eat pills on an empty stomach. And she's like, what are the pills for? And she's like, indigestion. But so Sylvia's up already, and Fran sits down and she basically starts to cry. And she's like, Maxwell and I got into this huge fight, and I'm worried that things are already falling apart. And Sylvia, when I love it when she gives this sage mom advice. Because Fran also says, he thinks I'm too loud in the bedroom.
She goes, Maxwell thinks I'm too loud in the bedroom.
Yep. and then Sylvia's like, marriage is about compromise. It's about give and take. So, she's like, for example, your father, he loves to speak Spanish at me in the bedroom, and I've never liked it. And she's like, but the flip side is, from that, I learned to order from El Pollo Yoco or El Pollo Loco, which I realized, I think that's only on the West Coast. So it might've been a little, continuity error, but that is, I don't think they're on the East Coast. So maybe they were back then. But she basically is like, and she's like, and I also learned to say, can I borrow a yellow pencil?
In South Florida, we had Pollo Tropical.
Oh.
Pollo Tropical, chicken on the grill.
See, in DC, we just had Boston Market. But so then, Sylvia's basically like, it's give and take. That's what a big part of marriage is. And she's like, hey, and when things start to get really heated in the bedroom, do what I do. Shove a Hostess snowball in your mouth. It'll keep you quiet for about 30 seconds. And it was also great because in the scene between Fran's sobs, she would stop to talk about how delicious those lamb chops were. She'd be like, did you put Italian seasoning on this?
Yeah, it's really that whole scene is so well played. The way the way Fran is like sobbing and complimenting her mother's food and like and chewing. It's really well done.
Mm-hmm. Because she stops sobbing to ask questions about the food. So it does seem very like she's faking for sure. Well, then we cut back to the mansion, same night. Maxwell, he's still in the bedroom in his pajamas and he's talking this all out with Niles. And he's like, oh, Niles, what did I do wrong? Niles is like, well, you don't talk to me nicely. My birthday is come and gone. And he's like, no, about Fran. And Niles basically is like, well, you're very uptight. And Maxwell gets super, super defensive. He ends up getting very worked up and he yells at Niles. And he's like, would it kill you to ever be on my side for once? I'm the one who hired you. I'm the one who lets you get away with all the things you think I don't know about. I don't even know why I bother keeping you around sometimes. And he really like reaches a crescendo. And then Niles is just like, that's the passion she wants to see. Like, that's the man she wants. And he's like, no, I could live without him. But, Niles kind of like, he very geniusly makes his point by working Mr. Sheffield up.
Yeah.
And then, so Fran gets that advice from Sylvia that you kind of have to compromise. And Mr. Sheffield gets that advice from Niles that, maybe she rightfully wants to see a little more passion. So we then cut to the next morning and Fran is trying to sneak back into the house so the kids don't know that they fought last night, which I thought was adorable.
Yeah, it's really cute. The way she's doing it too, because she's in the closet. She's hiding. She's like hiding in the closet, and I think Brighton opens it, and she's like there.
Well, she's like pretending. She tries to pretend she was just stepping out, even though she's stepping in. And Brighton's like, Fran, it's okay. We heard the fight.
Well, she's like, oh, did you hear it? And he's like, Fran, they heard it in Michigan.
Yes, yeah.
Which is a great line.
To my point, Mr. Sheffield may have been right to be like, let's be a little careful.
No, they heard the fight, not the sex.
Well, they could have heard it if he didn't stop her.
Those little perverts.
Also, I wrote, Gracie's outfit is so on trend for 2023.
So on trend.
The style totally came back around.
She looks like a little 90s girl, which also looks like a little now person. It's very confusing.
Now person.
Yeah,
that's what we call young people.
Yeah, we don't gender the kids anymore, so they're now people.
What are the now people up to? What kind of music are they listening to? No, you know what? I don't even know if this is a now person thing or just a me thing. I am distraught that Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner are getting divorced.
All of the Joes, Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner, Joe Manganiello and Sofia Vergara. Mm-hmm. There was a third Joe in there, but I forget who it was. But
Joe Alwyn and Taylor Swift?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That was what it was.
I wonder if the now people are as upset. But
I mean, it was a regular murderer's row of Joes. It was like the red wedding of Joes. Oh. Someone was like, "Hey, tell all the Joes they're about to be single," and then all of the girls left them.
Well, I was talking to Monica, and she said that everybody knows that Joe Jonas is the bad Jonas brother.
This will be super timely when this comes out in 2 weeks.
Okay, well then we're back at the mansion. Yep. Fran snuck in. Gracie's outfit is on point. Fran heads to Mr. Sheffield's office. And while she's walking over there, they shoehorn in that Maggie is dating a pre-med student.
Yes. Why?
And that he's Jewish. And I think we can all assume it's because we know she's getting married at the end of this season.
Oh, is that why? So they can start seeding the boyfriend? I
think so. But I thought it was adorable. She's like, Fran, you know that pre-med student I'm totally in love with? I've got a date with him. And Fran's like, oh, that's great. And then she goes, and he's Jewish. And she's like, ah! Like she almost like screams in joy, which I also thought was actually very sweet because it shows that like she truly loves these kids like they're her own. Like that excited her as if it was her own flesh and blood. Yes. And then Fran goes into the office and Mr. Sheffield's actually working out on his terrace and he's in jeans and a t-shirt, which he's never in. And he admits that, he's decided, he heard what she said and he wants to try to loosen up and kind of meet somewhere in the middle. And she says the same exact thing. And she's like, I'm going to try to be a little more. And then she whispers, demure.
Well, it's funny when he goes, I'm going to try to be more loosey-goosey. And she's like, you should start by not saying loosey-goosey anymore.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. And then she keeps being like, demure. And he doesn't hear it. So then she's like, demure. But I also noted that we have never had a scene out on the terrace in 5 whole seasons. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, they got a new set for the final season because it used to just be like a little strip with a backdrop, and they clearly like extended it a little bit so that they could film out there being, you know, still in the studio, but it looked cool. Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, it's a new place."
Yeah.
And so we established that they're gonna try to meet.
They got that final season money to burn.
I wonder if we're gonna get like new rooms that we've never seen before, like bathrooms.
Yeah, one room is going to be rendered completely in Pixar style 3D.
Oh God, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah,
that's so tight.
So tight.
This episode is brought to you by Snapple. Welcome to the Snapple Market Auditory Experience. Close your eyes. Imagine you're walking into your neighborhood store. You make your way to the back and reach for your favorite Snapple flavor. You can't wait. You take a sip. Whoa, that's a lot of flavor. What flavor are you holding? Now open your eyes and check out Snapple.com to find ridiculously flavorful Snapple near you.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
So then we cut to that night. Sorry. And we also established in that scene on the terrace that they're going to a business dinner that night, and they will plan to make sure no one is in the house afterwards. Like they're going to, make sure the kids all have something to do, ostensibly so they can have very loud sexola. Too uncomfortable saying. I'm too immature. I'm just too immature to say that word.
They want to do the old wabada 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 wabada.
But so we then cut to that night, and Fran is with Val at the mansion. And my first note was, ew, cut that. Get that out of here. I don't even know how you did that so fast. Is that your
with my cheek.
Let me try.
No, don't slap it. You gotta pinch it and kind of just like loosen your mouth and then just pull it away from your face. And then slap it against your teeth.
I hate that. I hate it. Didn't know I could hate something so much. Where were we? Okay, so we then cut to that evening. Fran is with Val in the living room, and Fran is dressed way more conservatively than we have ever seen her. She's in like a high-necked, kind of loose black dress, black gown. And, we further established that she's orchestrated it so that every kid's going to be out of the house that night. And she even says to Val, like, oh, like, thank you so much for watching Gracie. And Val's like, oh, it's no big deal. I just had to cancel a date. And Fran's like, oh my God, you did? And she's like, no, I just wanted to hear how that would sound. Or like, I just want to hear what that sounded like. And then also, Fran finds out that Maggie was planning to be at the mansion to do a movie night with her boyfriend. But she's like, no, you're going to Val's too. And Val's like, it's okay, y'all have privacy. I got that new accordion door. Which I just thought can you imagine being like 19 and you think you're going to have a date at the house, then you got to go to Val's
apartment. But like she's presumably also there.
Yes, with Maggie. I mean, with Grace.
And you're separated by an accordion door.
Bummer city. And then Niles comes down and he's like coughing and pretending to be sick. And he's pulling this big fake sick act. And then, she's like, well, you know what might help? A suite at the Waldorf Astoria, jacuzzi, room service. No. And then he's like, maybe. And then she's like, hey, Niles, when I used to pull that act, I used to get a per diem. Like basically being when she used to pull that fake sick thing, she got even more out of Mr. Sheffield. And it is super weird now to think that like she has so much money at her disposal.
Yeah.
And that she's Niles' boss. It's very odd.
It is. It's a very strange dynamic. They're not really leaning into that aspect of it.
Yeah. Which I kind of like. I'd be very bummed out if Fran suddenly was like lording it over Niles. But then Fran bumps into Cece, who looks incredible. She's dressed to the nines. And it turns out Cece also is assuming that she's going to this business dinner. And Fran's like, didn't you think he was going to take his wife to the dinner? And she's like, that would be crazy. She's dead. She's like, oh, you mean you? Which is like, I do love that she keeps forgetting that they're married.
Great.
And Fran's basically, it's funny because Fran very candidly is like, Miss Babcock, like, move on, get a life. And Cece's like, never.
Never. Yeah.
So then Maxwell comes out and he confesses to Fran that he's incredibly nervous about this business dinner because it's hosted by this very famous playwright. And apparently every year Andrew Lloyd Webber is also at this dinner party, and the playwright always gives his latest play to Andrew Lloyd Webber to produce. And so it's always like very disappointing. And he's like, but this year, Andrew Lloyd Webber is out of town. And Fran goes, oh my God, so you might actually have a shot. Which was like very earnest and excited, but also shows how little faith they all have in him.
Yes.
And so, and she's like, don't worry, honey. Like, if you need a supportive, completely just like conservative, classy wife, like that's what you're gonna get. And she turns on her heels and she walks out the door, and we realize that the dress is actually completely backless.
Yes.
And he literally like runs after her with a shawl.
Which, like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was.
Come on. It was a
conservative.
completely classy dress. Like, just because you could see her back. It's not like it was like, you
Well,
couldn't see like her butt cheeks.
Sean, you've just revealed yourself to be completely unclassy because you don't even know how unclassy that dress is.
Is it?
I mean, I think maybe for this
Because the
type
back's
of
open?
I think for this type of event, it'd be more conservative. Sean,
Is it a puritanical event? So, like, what are they?
You know,
what are they going to?
Sean is he's just constantly wearing his backless shirts. And
All my shirts are backless.
And I just can't convince him that it really is not the right vibe for a lot of professionals.
I don't understand what the problem is. It's my back breathes better this way.
Anyway.
It doesn't get as sweaty unless I sit in a car with that fake leather stuff.
So today, when I told Sean earlier, I'm doing jury duty, and I got so overheated during the lunch break that I came into the courthouse and I did lift up the back of my shirt and I leaned it against the cold marble while I waited for court to resume, and it felt good.
Hey, listen, more power to you.
Yeah,
I'm not no judgment here, not from me nor our listeners. They're kind people.
They're pro-Toria.
They are pro-Toria.
So then we cut to the dinner that night, and it is going fabulously. Like, Fran is charming, and she's charming the famous writer. And he's like, the writer clearly thinks she's very sexy and actually loves that she's wearing a backless dress. Mm-hmm. And this scene I thought was so adorable. And I actually loved it because it really showed that, like, there's not a power dynamic in this couple, and that they really do support each other because it's going well. And we cut to them literally running into a bathroom and closing the door and jumping up and down giddily because we find out that this playwright has just agreed to give his latest play to Maxwell. And he's not like, she's so genuinely happy for him, and he's so genuinely grateful that he has her by his side. Like, he's clearly like, I couldn't have done this without you. Like, we did it. And they jump up and down. And then he's like, okay, now, but please leave because I need to pee. Although he doesn't say it exactly like that, but he's basically like, yes, I've got to do my business. And Fran is like completely baffled by this because she was there like kind of powdering her nose, and she's like, honey, like, we're married. You can just go. And he's literally like, darling, I'm English. There are some things that we will never share. And like, this is one of them. And he's very serious about it. He's like, get out. I really have to pee. And Fran, I feel like this is like, I don't know. This is actually something that I was curious what you would feel about, because Fran's like, we're so close. We're family. Like, you should definitely be able to pee in front of me. And he's like, no, that's a very, very private thing that you don't even share with your wife. And she starts to push it. Literally, she's like, okay. And she grabs the doorknob and it breaks. So she's stuck in there with him. And I was just like, just run the shower, man. Like,
same, bro, just whip it out and take a pee. What are we talking about? And then to take it to the extent, I mean, here's where the episode lost me a little bit, right? I literally, my note wrote, is he insane that he makes his wife stand on the ledge of a building so he can pee? Like, what a weirdo.
I think it is a bit of a culture difference. Like, I do think there are probably some very, very
I don't care. That's ridiculous.
Well,
you
yeah,
put the person's life at risk because you can't just take a little pee-pee in the toy.
That was, I admit, it was extreme. But we have to remember, it's a sitcom. It's going to be a heightened reality. But so, for any listener who hasn't watched this episode and doesn't know what we're talking about, we then... What was that?
It's a rim shot.
Why was that? Stop, it's too loud.
Great joke.
That's not it. That doesn't even sound like that should be like done done. What you're doing, that's not even right. You're just using random cymbal sound effects. But so we basically get to the point where he's so uncomfortable by the idea of her hearing him or seeing him pee that he has her go stand out on the ledge. And so she's kind of just like walking back and forth and talking about whatever pops into her head while he pees. And she ends up losing her balance and falling.
Horrific.
Like 2 stories.
It's horrific. It's my worst. I went, oh, I was like, what is this show doing?
I know. And it's literally 2 stories. And then we cut instantly to a funeral.
Yes.
Not Fran's funeral. It is
No,
Wendell.
but they make you think that like for a half a beat, you're like, oh, wait, is this? And then you see Fran sitting there and you're like, oh, what is happening on this show?
It turns out she fell on the playwright whose name was Wendell.
Yes.
And he's dead. She crushed him unto death.
Yeah, she murdered him with her body.
While
Wendell Kent.
And
Rest in
while
peace.
they are sitting at the funeral, they are bickering because she's like, this never would have happened if we didn't try to change each other so much. And he's like, they're going back and forth. And it turns out they're sitting next to Wendell's wife and mother. They keep like putting their foot in their mouth because they keep insulting him. And the button of this was so that's basically like the last scene of the episode.
By the way, did you recognize Wendell's mom?
Yeah, I did. I was gonna tell you. She's from The Wedding Singer.
Yeah, Rosie from The Wedding Singer, the little rapping granny.
Yep.
She was also the grandma in The Wedding Crashers, and in she was Disco Dottie in 54.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I never saw 54, but I just
it's a great movie.
Is that the one with
like
Ryan Felipe and Nev Campbell?
Yes, I think so. And Mike Myers, right?
Yes, that's so weird.
And Breckin Myers in it. Yeah, it's a great movie.
I didn't even know that movie existed until a few days ago when for some reason IMDb played me a trailer.
You'd love it.
Oh, wait. You know why it played me the trailer? Because I was on her IMDb.
Well, you'd love the movie. It's a good movie.
Okay, I do love Nev Campbell.
Yeah, you'd like it. It's a good one.
All right. But so, they play this, Wendell's death is a joke, and Fran and Mr. Sheffield decide, they're not going to work so hard to compromise.
Well, it's a joke to everyone except his mother.
Yeah.
She seems sad.
And his widow, I assume. But so then the button of the episode is Niles and Fran are listening outside the door of Mr. Sheffield's office, and he's just laughing hysterically. And he comes out, and they're like, "What are you laughing at?" And he's like, oh, because we had also established in the last scene that upon his death, his widow gave the rights to all his remaining works to Andrew Lloyd Webber. So Mr. Sheffield did not get the play he was promised. But so now he's cracking up, and they're like, "What are you laughing at?" And he's like, "I'm reading Wendell Kent's latest play, the one that, we were going to produce. It's hilarious." And they're like, "Well, then why are you happy?" And he's like, "Because it's supposed to be a drama." And so I guess we're supposed to think it's all for the best that Fran crushed a man to death.
Yep, it's fine. When she went out on the ledge, it kind of lost me, but then I really liked the way they kind of buttoned it like a Seinfeld episode, and it took a very dark turn. Mm-hmm. I liked it. I
will say this though, in Mr. Sheffield's defense, there are some people, who pee in front of you too early. Like there's sometimes friends will pee in front. I'm just like,
like that time when the first day we met, and I was like, "Hold on, I gotta pee." And then I just did it on the sidewalk in New York. And you're like, this is a job interview.
No, but what is real? That's not real, listeners. But Sean did ask me if I had any weed the first time we met.
Yeah.
And he was a true California guy and I was a true East Coast kid. And I didn't even know where to find weed, let alone give it to Sean.
Yeah. And I was like, hey man, I need my medicine. Yeah. I've got a medical card and everything.
Do you really?
I mean, I did. You don't need it anymore. It's legal.
Wow. See what I know. See, I'm definitely not.
It's legal in the state. You can go to any dispensary at any time now, as long as you're over 21.
The now people are probably laughing at me.
They probably are.
So,
all right. So, good news, Toria. Last week, I half jokingly promised that I would make a different segments theme for every single episode of this season. And then I did it. So...
I wish you had saved that surprise for on air. He surprised me like right before we started recording.
I did. And now, guess what, Toria? We should go into our segments theme because it's time for segments.
Okay, let's do it.
And now, segments.
Are we ready for segment?
We are so ready for segments. Let's go. All right, so segment time. Segments.
Mm-hmm. Should we move on to our segments? Should we get into our segments? Segments with Sean and Toria. Okay, so first of all, listeners, I have not heard any of these until they actually play. Yeah. So you have to understand these are my first time hearing them. I just had this extreme visual of us in like Lycra and like headbands, like dancing to this. And I'm just like, we got to make, well, you got to film yourself and I got to film myself and then we got to cut it together.
Okay. Oh, that's fun. Should we do a bit with every segment's theme?
I'm on jury duty working full time. I don't have that kind of, I mean, I would love to. Well, this one we definitely can do. Mm-hmm. It's short and sweet. We both got probably workout clothes.
We could do all of these probably. They're not that hard.
Sean, stop.
Promising things that we're never going to deliver on.
I was going to say, what's that word? My brain is so fried, everybody, today. It's been a long day. Where you don't minimize. Stop minimizing my struggle. Wow. You can be like, but it's not that hard. But you probably have time. But anyway, that was incredible.
Thank you.
And I kind of want to hear it again. I might make you play it out at the end.
That's fun. Okay.
So favorite lines and moments. I loved when Fran cried to Sylvia. She's like, Maxwell thinks I'm too loud in the bedroom. And Sylvia goes, so we quiet a food. Because that's the only thing she can imagine happening in a bedroom anymore.
That's what she does. Yeah. In the bedroom.
Mm-hmm. And I did love Fran whispering, demure. I'm going to be more demure. She's so funny.
I thought the best line of the episode, quite frankly, was Fran being like, look, it's not a big deal. Like, just because me and your father fought, it doesn't, and I slept at my mother's house, it doesn't mean that we're going to get a divorce. And then Gracie goes, well, then why did Daddy call his attorney? And Fran goes, what? And she's like, kidding, which was like, so good. Such a good bit.
She is, you know what? She probably is a very funny person, like as she gets older, because she's very smart.
She was a very witty child, so it stands to reason that as she gets older, she just gets smarter and funnier. She was great. That was great. I thought that was the highlight of the episode. As far as like zingers, that was probably the best one of the episode. Mm-hmm, I also really liked Maxwell being like, I'm British. There's some things I cannot do.
Uh-huh. I bet you that I'd have to ask my mom, not that she would remember, but my dad was English. I bet you he would never have done that.
Let's call her live on air.
Hey, did your ex-husband ever pee in front of you? So on all in all, like I enjoyed this episode. It was silly, but it was funny, and I it definitely was the kind of thing where it spurred a lot of conversation. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
For Yiddish, we had Yenta when Fran is like, we all are alone except for this Yenta, referring to Niles, of course. Yenta being a busybody. And then, this is not Yiddish, but it is a very Jewish thing. Fran says she's like, while they're at the party, she's like, these crab cakes are delicious. Can I have the recipe so my mom can recreate it with scrod? So scrod is a white fish that they make like a lot of imitation crab from. And so a lot of Jewish people eat it a lot because shellfish is not kosher, but you will make crab cakes out of scrod and shrimp things out of scrod. And so I just hadn't heard the word in a very long time.
I never heard the word before. So thank you for that. I finally 6 seasons and I finally learned something from you.
Yeah.
What if I disappeared?
You just become a ball of light and ascend into the heavens.
Finally.
Okay, that was the right one.
Thank you.
Okay, finally. So for Nanny Trivia, so this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So Wendell Kent, who was the playwright, he was, and I'll tell you this, I wrote this Nanny Trivia down long enough ago this week that I don't remember it. So this is going to be new to both of us.
This is like you had amnesia.
Yeah, because it's been such a busy week. So Wendell Kent was played by an actor named Ray Strickland.
Oh.
And from
I know Ray Strickland.
You do?
Yeah, man. That guy was like a oski character actor. He was in like a bajillion things, but he was most famous for one of the soap operas my mom watched. I forget which one.
Well, but listen to this. So he was an actor until the 70s.
Yeah.
And then after, and he was sort of projected at a young age to be like the next big thing.
Oh.
And it didn't really ever happen to him. And not only was it like just a personal disappointment, but he's like quoted as saying that he had been living beyond his means because, there'd been all this expectation placed on him and he really thought he was going to be the guy. And so when that didn't happen, he switched gears and he actually became one of the most influential publicists in Hollywood. And he worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, including Elizabeth Taylor and Bette Davis. So he was like a big time publicist. And then though it says like the urge to act never left him. And he kind of made like a triumphant return to the stage. And he became, quote, the most award honored LA stage actor of the 80s. He was twice named Best Actor of the Year by the Los Angeles Drama Critics Circle. And he was also nominated for a Golden Globe twice.
Wow. Ray Strickland.
And then we already covered this. I said the actress who played Wendell Kent's mother, Ellen Albertini Dow, was the old lady from The Wedding Singer.
Let's get him on the show.
I think he died several years ago.
Let me see. Hold on. 1928 to 2002. All right. Well, let's not get him on the show because that would be scary.
But Ellen Albertini Dow, I think she lived to be like to 2015 or something. She
was 232.
So we were going to move on to the Fran or the CC, but I realized we forgot to do the Fran or the CC a couple episodes ago, but I don't even remember which one. I just noticed it when I was editing. So what's done is done. We can't go back.
Mea culpa, mea culpa.
We got so overexcited about something else that we forgot. But so this episode, what if like listeners were just like so angry and we just got like an outpouring of like, but who was the Fran or who was the CC?
No, it would be really funny if they just played the outro and we just ended the show.
So, okay, well, we kind of already established this. I said within 2 seconds of this episode, I related to Fran. The slightest annoyance can sometimes send me into a rage. And I'm very lucky that I have a very understanding partner.
See, I related to Fran for different reasons, which is that I am nothing like Mr. Sheffield. I'm much more like outgoing and, like loose and sort of, forgiving of things, not as uptight. So I felt like if it's her or him, I'm more like her.
Wow. This is sobering because I realize I'm both the worst of them in this episode because I not only would have stormed across town for no reason, I'm the uptight one in my relationship. I always go, I'm getting out of the shower. Don't look.
Wow. Don't look.
Yeah, I refuse to be looked at.
You lived it.
I don't like it. He just knows it. And I go, don't look. I think because I grew up in a very modest household. I was an English person.
Interesting. All right. Well, listen. We learned something very important this week, listeners. Don't look at Toria. Don't look at her. Don't look at her. If we ever do a live show, much like Sia, we're going to have her behind a curtain, and the part of Toya will be played by a young ballet dancer.
A young Jodie Foster.
A young Jodie Foster. Oh, what a callback. So I think that's it. Listen, Oh, Mr. Chef Pod. It's on Twitter. It's on Instagram. It's on Reddit. What? That's right. I made an account so I could make a post on Reddit in the Nanny subreddit. Hi, Nanny subreddit listeners, to promote the show. So we'll see if that gets any new people to listen to it. It's never too late to tune in. And also, I want to say thank you to the people that have been emailing us. That has been great and very satisfying. Also, thank you to the people that have been answering the questions on Spotify. We see you. We see you, and we feel you.
Oh, and that quickly reminded me that we recently got a review on Apple, which made us both laugh so hard
Yes.
that I need to share it. And whoever wrote it, you are a friggin' genius. It's from Sarah G1459, and she goes, "This podcast bestows an honor upon me, which is unparalleled within my universe." 5 stars, which is what Sylvia says when she meets Liz Taylor on the show. So it was not only incredibly flattering to give us such a great review, but it was like an incredible callback to a line that we both are obsessed with. So it was, 5 stars to that review. If I could review a review, it would be 5 stars.
Wow. Yeah, me too. It was great. It made me laugh. I do want to note we've kind of started to make mention. This is our final season, so we've been trying to figure out what we're going to do next, and we have solicited opinions, and people have a lot of people have said dinosaurs. One person made 4 very convincing arguments for why we should continue with the Fran Drescher cinematic universe. Basically saying that our knowledge of pop cultural things relates to Living with Fran and Happily Divorced, since they're somewhat connected to The Nanny and often allude to and break the fourth wall. She also says the segment section is always entertaining, especially when we discuss Jewish words, which we would be able to continue to do because Fran often incorporates her Jewishness into other roles that she plays. Also, that the audience we've gained over the last couple of years would continue to tune in and grow due to their loves of Fran and sitcoms, and that the Beautician and the Beast, Princesses, and the Nanny reunion and Nosh to Remember are also perfect pinpoints in Fran's career to analyze the brilliance and evolution of Fran and Peter's humor-filled partnership. So those are all very good points. I don't know what we're going to do yet. Toria?
I got to think about it.
Yeah.
We still got episodes to decide.
We got time. It's only episode 2. So keep sending in your thoughts, and we'll figure it out eventually. And on that note, Toria.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And now, segments.
Are we ready for segment?
We are so ready for segments. Let's go. All right, so segment time. Segments.
Should we move on to our segments? Should we get into our segments? With Sean and Toria.